Hello and welcome back to Seaside Garage and the Porsche 924. As you can see, there's a lot of parts right here. I was not expecting to do much in here other than to just change the brake disc because of rust. I'm gonna change the bearing also because the bearing is inside the brake disc. But then I noticed some stuff that I didn't really like, and this is supposed to be a great handling car. So if I have bushings and stuff like that that are loose, it will wreck that, and that would be a shame because that's the great thing about this car. And you might see that this is not just a bushing, this is the entire lower wishbone control arm. The reason for that I'm gonna show you in a second. They are also quite cheap, so it wasn't a big deal, to be honest. So in this video I hope to change both of them. I hope to remove the steering rack because I want to change the ball joints on that. And I want it to be out of the car when I put in the engine because it will be a lot easier, and then I will put it back in afterwards. I also want to change the brake discs and the bearings and some rubbers. I also noticed something else that I'm going to change in the next video. I had hoped to actually fix the brakes up today, but there is something in here that I need to do something about before doing that. But let me show you why I'm going to change those control arms. Because they are pressed plate steel and it's actually in decent condition, except right there. The rust in there could just be the folding edge, but I'm not taking any chances, and I'm pretty sure it will be an MOT fail anyway. So I'm going to change them, and also because they didn't cost that much, it was a pretty easy decision. The other side is a lot better than this, but still, it would be nice to just change them both. Then I will also take care of the rubber in there, because that's a part of it. So I'm going to take them off, but firstly I will remove the anti-roll bar, and then start to remove the rest of it. There we go, that was stuck. When I drove this car home, I mentioned that the steering was a little bit tight. And after reading some road tests on the 924, it seems as though the steering should be light. I was just thinking that maybe it was supposed to be like that, but of course there is nothing really out here because there is no drive shaft or anything. There's nothing really that should bind the steering up. The steering should be light. But take a look at this. The spring moves. The tower doesn't really move up there. It is possible to get it to move slightly, but it's extremely stiff in the strut bearing up there. That's discontinued, of course. It seems as though everything that is broken on this car is parts that are discontinued. I hope to be able to remove the strut tower and grease up that bearing because it is moving. It's difficult to show right now without tension on the spring. But it is moving. It's just very stiff. Let me show you on the other side. I'm not gonna say that this is the way it's supposed to be because I don't know, but this one at least moves at the strut tower. It's still a little bit stiff, but I think that is way better. I think that's the reason why I think the steering is a bit stiff. I need to do something about that. And now the brakes are working fine. I don't think I'm gonna touch this other than just to grease it up and change the pads. But what I do need to change is the brake line back here, because that's it's the wrong one. It's supposed to have a carrier thingy here that fits into that space right there. And you might think that doesn't really matter, but take a look at this, and I have experienced that before. And it's not leaking yet, but this is just a recipe of complete brake failure. So I need to change this. Therefore, I'm just going to cut it, because then I can remove this and put it on the side and remove the strut tower, so I can take a look at that bearing. Mission creep? I snapped both of them, and that is not a good thing. I should have taken more care and not used the ratchet gun for that. But oh well, I will have to see if I can take that out with a welder. So look at the mess I made, and it's completely my own fault. It was a stupid idea to use the big impact gun for this one, because it's long bolts and it will twist and snap. I just took one of them out over here, just using a normal ratchet to loosen it up with. But anyway, I would like to change the hardware anyway, because it is rusty and weak. But the main thing right now is to get those out. Hopefully I can weld another onto them and then pull them out. Otherwise I will have to drill and re-tap eventually, maybe even put a helicoil in or something. It is not possible to get at it from the top, so I need to get them out. Yeah, it was also just a show of force of the skill impact driver. That thing just got so much power. I'm gonna try to weld the bolt on. So there we go, one of them is welded on. That was the easy one, because it was protruding. Now I'm gonna try to spin it loose. It will probably not work the first time, but I hope. The heat from the welding will also help quite a lot. Yeah, and it snapped even higher up. This is going to be a problem. Anyway, I'm just going to try again. This time it will be a little bit more difficult, because I cannot just put this one on. It won't really, it will just fall down. So what I'm going to do is to just clean the surface up a little bit. And then I'm going to put a little bit of glue onto the bolt. That way it will stay in place until I weld it. Otherwise it will be really difficult. And it's a good idea to at least try to center the knot, because if it's off center it will shear a lot easier. And I'm not sure I'm the right one to actually give advice about this, because it is very rarely a one attempt thing for me. This always takes a couple of tries before I get it. So the second attempt, oh, is it moving or sharing? Yeah, I think it's moving. Woohoo! Hopefully all the way out. I'm not going to touch it because it's red hot still. There we go. Nice. So I'm just going to fight with the other one until that is out, and then take you back, because that would just be the same. Yes! Whew. Wow! That was really, really easy. This is almost not edited. This has not taken around 2.5 hours to do. It just took a couple of minutes. So yeah, woo! Second attempt, I think. Yeah, this is just how it is sometimes. Sometimes it's just so basic stuff that takes forever. And as you can see, I ended up welding a washer to the stud with a big nut on. I'm actually surprised it worked because I haven't got a lot of... I didn't hit it very well there, but it's out, and this took forever. But it's lovely. Finally, it's out. On this side, I'm also going to remove the strut tower. I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything about the bearing in this one because it's not as stiff as the other one, but it is. I think it's supposed to be a little bit easier, so I might end up changing or servicing both bearings if it's possible. But I found another problem because this right here is actually the end of the speedometer cable, which runs behind here and all the way up to the instrument cluster. It's supposed to have a circlip out here holding it in. That way it will just turn the cable with the wheel. And yep, it has been welded in. I'm going to cut it free and hopefully be able to retract it. I think I will end up just having to weld it on in the end because it's most likely messed up the area where the circlip is supposed to be. So, but I'm going to have to take a look at that later. I'm just going to try to see if I can cut it free to begin with. So yeah, I'll probably just end up welding that back in because that will work just fine. And then I can withdraw the cable. There we go, and remove the strut. There we go. And there we go. That's pretty much the front end of the Porsche. But let's see if I can be lucky to actually service that that strut tower bearing. This is the first time that I use my new spring compressors, and I just saw that they actually got a hole for the socket. That is brilliant. I love that. Make sure that there are no pressure before doing that, by the way. There we go. This is the bearing. It's not turning that bad, to be honest. I'm just going to clean this up and reinstate it, and hopefully that will be good enough. As long as I don't lose any of these, and they are still round, I think this will be all right. There we go. They look nice. Let's just hope they are. There we go. They are all there. And then I'm going to give it some royal purple grease. And then I'm going to put this back in and fold the edge over. Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to service these like this, but if it works, it works. There we go. and I folded the edges slightly, and it is spinning very smoothly. And it wasn't that bad either before, so I don't know why it was so stiff. But I'm going to put it all back together and put the strut tower back on the car and then see if it makes a difference. With the strut back in the car, I can turn it, and it is still a little bit stiff, but it's exactly the same as the other side, and I think it's normal. Before it was pretty much impossible to spin it. It was the spring instead of the actual bearing that turned to begin with. But now it seems just fine. I'm gonna wrap this video up right here and do some cleanup and remove. I don't know where all those nuts with a bunch of weld in them came from. I'm gonna do some cleanup. I was expecting to be a bit further on this part of the project today, but this is just one of those times where one thing really gets in the way of progress. Those snap bolts that I snapped because I wasn't really careful cost me a couple of hours at least. So thank you for watching this video, and also thanks to the bunch of people who became Patreons after the last video. It really helps me a lot in the process of trying to make a living out of my hobby in the garage. Thank you for that. And see you in the next video with more progress on the Porsche, or maybe some more progress on the AZU. Let's see. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.